The first sign that my daughter's birthday was about to be ruined was not a phone call. It was the cake. It sat in the center of my kitchen counter like something soft and innocent that had no idea what kind of day it had been born into. Pink frosting, white sugar stars, a tiny horse on top with golden hair and blue eyes, because my daughter Lily had spent 2 straight weeks reminding me that if the horse had scary eyes, she would not trust the cake. She was turning 7. And after everything that had happened that year, I wanted one clean day for her. Just one. One day that did not smell like court papers, fake smiles, schedule changes, forced politeness, and the stale poison of co parenting with a man who treated boundaries like personal insults. I stood there in my kitchen, holding birthday candles and staring at that cake longer than I should have, because everything looked perfect, and perfect made me nervous now. Through the kitchen window, I could see the backyard already dressed for happiness. Pink and white balloons tied to chairs, little paper butterflies clipped to the tablecloths, a bounce house in the corner, lemonade jars sweating in the morning heat, goodie bags lined up like little promises. I had even rented a cotton candy machine because Lily once said cotton candy looked like clouds that decided to be kind. The yard looked like peace. But I had been married to Mason long enough to know this. Peace was exactly when he liked to strike. 8 months earlier, my divorce had become final. People like to ask women if divorce feels sad. Sometimes it does. Mine felt like oxygen. I did not leave Mason because of one thing. Not only because he cheated, not only because he lied, not only because he moved his office affair into a real relationship before our marriage was even cold. I left because I woke up one morning and realized I had become careful in my own house, careful with my words, careful with my face, careful with my joy, careful with what I laughed at, careful with whether my breathing sounded irritated. And the day I caught myself apologizing for being tired in my own kitchen to a man who had spent months making me feel smaller, I looked at Lily coloring on the floor and thought, if I stay, she will think this is what love looks like. So I left. Mason did not take that well. At first, he tried tears, then blame, then guilt, then charm, then threats disguised as concern. And when none of that put me back in place, he married Savannah, the woman from his office, and started acting like he had built something beautiful instead of dragging something rotten into daylight. Savannah was younger than me, prettier in the polished way that looked expensive, always smiling, always soft voiced, always standing just close enough to Mason to let the world know she was the upgraded version. I never fought her. I did not need to. Any woman who proudly enters through another woman's wreckage eventually finds out what kind of man is standing beside her. My phone buzzed on the counter. I looked down. Mason, my shoulders tightened instantly. He was supposed to stop by around noon, drop off Lily's gift, say happy birthday, and leave. That was the agreement. Short, civil, no drama, no surprise additions, no performance. I answered, what? His voice came in smooth and bright, and that alone told me trouble was coming. Well, good morning to you too, Claire. I closed my eyes. There was that light little smile in his voice, the one he used when he wanted to provoke me first, so whatever happened after could look like my fault. What do you want, Mason? Just letting you know we're running a little late. That word landed like a stone. We, a pause, tiny, deliberate. Then he said, um, Savannah and I did not even think before answering. No, he gave a quiet laugh. No, she is not invited. She's my wife. And this is my daughter's birthday. Our daughter. I gripped the edge of the counter. You were told you could stop by briefly, drop off Lily's present, and leave. That's it. Claire, come on. Lily loves Savannah. That sentence made something cold slide through me. Not because it was true, but because Mason wanted it to become true faster than real life works. He wanted the replacement complete. New wife, new unit, new family picture, new story. Lily was polite to Savannah. That was not love. That was survival. I lowered my voice. Not today. It's just a birthday. No, I said. It's Lily's birthday. His voice cooled. We'll be there around 1. Mason. He hung up. Just like that. No discussion. No respect. Only the message. I heard your boundary. I am stepping over it anyway. I set the phone down slowly because what I really wanted to do was throw it across the room. Right then, my sister Naomi walked into the kitchen holding a bag of ribbons and birthday tiaras. She took one look at my face and stopped. What did he do? He's bringing her. Naomi stared. To the party? Yes. After you said no? Yes. She dropped the tiaras on the counter. Absolutely not. He already hung up. Naomi muttered a word so disrespectful it almost made me smile. Almost. Naomi had been my witness through the whole divorce. My older sister, loud where I got quiet, sharp where I got tired, loyal in the kind of way that makes weak men uncomfortable. When Mason tried to recast himself as the wounded husband, Naomi never let me forget the truth. He did not lose his family. He damaged it. He just hated that I stopped helping him hide that. She folded her arms now. He's doing it on purpose. I know. He wants a scene. I know. And if that little scented mannequin says one disrespectful thing to you in this house, I will drag her out by the roots. That got a real laugh out of me. One small one. Then it died. Because the truth was, I did not just fear a scene, I feared the pattern. Mason had a gift for entering happy moments and leaving dirt on everything. And Lily's birthday was exactly the kind of bright day he would not be able to stand. By 11:30, the first guests had arrived. By noon, the backyard was full of children shrieking, parents smiling, juice spilling, music playing, and the kind of harmless chaos that makes a child's birthday feel real. Then Lily came flying down the back steps in her pale pink dress, silver sparkly shoes, and 2 braids tied with white bows. She looked so happy it hurt. Mommy, look! She spun in place, arms out, skirt blooming around her knees. I crouched and opened my arms, and she ran into them. You look perfect. Do I look 7? You look like 7 is scared of you. She gasped. Really? I smiled. Really? She kissed my cheek and ran back toward the bounce house. And for a while, maybe 40 minutes, maybe a lifetime, I forgot Mason. That was the worst part about what happened next. The fact that I had let myself relax. The fact that I had let happiness in. Then, a little after 1, I heard a car door slam in the driveway. Then another. My stomach dropped so fast, it felt like missing a step in the dark. I looked toward the side gate. Naomi was across the yard near the snack table. She saw my face, followed my eyes, and instantly straightened. A minute later, Mason walked through the gate like he owned the place. Tall, button down shirt, rolled sleeves, expensive watch, calm smile, and beside him, Savannah, cream dress, gold earrings, hair in soft waves, one bright gift bag in her hand and a bakery box in the other, like my daughter's party had somehow been waiting for her finishing touch. For 1 second, I actually could not move. The nerve of it, the absolute nerve. Lily spotted them from the bounce house. Daddy! She came running, all joy and trust and little girl speed. Mason bent and scooped her up with perfect father timing, spinning her once while she laughed. And God help me, I hated him a little more in that moment because he was so good at the easy parts. The arrival, the smile, the sugar high moment. He never had to be the one who remembered shoe sizes, school forms, allergy lists, dentist calls, medication timing, and where the missing left sock went at 7:30 in the morning. He got to arrive like joy. I got to build it. Savannah stepped forward, and I came too, sweet girl. Lily's smile changed, only slightly, but enough. Children know when adults are forcing closeness that has not been earned. Savannah held out the bakery box. Special cupcakes just for you. By then, I had reached them. My voice was calm, too calm. What are you doing here? Mason adjusted Lily on his hip and gave me that familiar look, the one that said, "Do not embarrass yourself in front of people." Celebrating my daughter, you were told the arrangement. Savannah gave me a delicate smile. Claire, I would never want to intrude. I just thought, since we're family, you are not my family. The smile thinned. Nearby, two mothers stopped talking. Mason noticed, of course, he noticed audiences the way sharks notice blood. Can we not do this today? He asked. I stared at him. You mean the part where you ignore my boundary and then act like I'm the problem for saying so? Naomi appeared beside me like she had been summoned by rage itself. She's got a point. Mason shot her an irritated glance. This isn't your business. You came into my sister's home uninvited, with your side piece wearing birthday beige, Naomi said. It became my business immediately. Savannah's face flashed, just a crack. Then she recovered. Mason lowered Lily to the ground. Go play, sweetheart. We'll be there in a minute. Lily looked from him to me, then back to me. I smiled. Go on, baby. She hesitated, then she ran back toward her friends. The second she was out of earshot, Mason's face changed. Not dramatically, just enough for me to see the real man underneath the father mask. We need to talk, he said. No, you need to leave. Not here. There is nothing private to discuss. There is, he said. Actually, there is. The warning in my chest sharpened because his voice had changed. Not angry, not flustered, too controlled. Too pleased with itself, Savannah set the cupcakes down neatly on the table, like she had practiced even that. Then Mason said, very quietly, we're taking custody. The sound around me seemed to warp. The music still played, children still laughed. A balloon tapped lightly against a chair, but inside me, everything went dead still. For one horrible second, my body forgot how to move. My hands went cold, my ears rang. It felt like someone had reached into the middle of my chest and squeezed because he had not come to celebrate. He had come to strike. And suddenly I knew this party was no longer a birthday. It was a setup. I looked at him, then at Savannah, then back at him. What did you just say? Mason did not blink. Savannah stood beside him with her hands folded neatly, face arranged into calm concern, like she was there for a school meeting instead of an ambush. Mason repeated it more slowly. We're filing for full custody. Naomi let out a short laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was obscene. You've lost your mind. Mason ignored her and kept his eyes on me. We tried to do this respectfully. Respectfully? He brought his new wife to my child's birthday after I said no, waited until the yard was full of witnesses, and announced he was taking my daughter. And he said respectfully, something hot rose in my chest, but beneath it was something colder. Clarity. I knew this move, shock first, make me emotional, make me loud, make me look unstable while he stayed measured and concerned. That was always how Mason liked his cruelty served with plausible deniability. I folded my arms. For what reason? Savannah answered before he could. Well, she said in that soft, fake, careful voice, we've had concerns for a while. Naomi stepped toward her instantly. You need to be very careful with your next sentence. Mason sighed like a weary saint. This is exactly the problem. I laughed once. Hard. Sharp. No. The problem is that you think if you use a calm voice and stand next to a blonde woman in neutral tones, you can say something monstrous and call it concern. His jaw tightened. There's no need to be dramatic. That word, dramatic, the favorite word of men who light the fire and then complain that women are too emotional about the smoke. I stepped closer. You want to threaten me with custody? Fine, do it where people do that, through lawyers, in court, not next to a cotton candy machine. Savannah spoke again, and this time the sweetness was thinner. We were hoping to avoid a difficult legal process. For Lily's sake, I turned to her fully. You do not get to say, for Lily's sake, in my yard. Her lips pressed together. Mason reached into his jacket and pulled out a white envelope. That was when I understood how planned this was. Not a threat spoken in anger, a script, a prepared package, a performance. He handed it to me. You should read this. I took it and looked inside. Paper, printed pages, structured sections, a draft petition, a list of alleged concerns. I started reading unstable schedule, questionable financial consistency, emotional volatility, potentially unsuitable home environment. I looked up slowly. Emotional volatility? Mason spread his hands. Claire, the last year has been difficult for you. He wanted me to explode. I could feel it now. He wanted me to prove the lie by reacting to it. Savannah tilted her head sympathetically. No one is saying you don't love Lily. That voice. Like she had wandered into my life from a handbook called How to Sound Kind While Helping Destroy a Woman. I looked back at the pages. Frequent childcare reliance, meaning Naomi had helped me, meaning my sister had watched Lily on days I had work calls, meaning I had built support instead of drowning. Apparently, in their world, surviving without a husband made me suspicious. Then I saw another line, exposure to conflict in maternal residence. I lifted my head. What conflict? Mason gave a tiny shrug. You tell me. Naomi actually gasped. Oh, you manipulative snake. I said her name quietly. Naomi. She looked at me, startled, because my voice was calm, very calm. And in that moment, I realized something. I was no longer reacting. I was studying them. This was not about winning custody today. This was about destabilizing me today, humiliating me today, provoking a scene today, maybe getting witnesses to say later that Claire was hysterical, maybe getting me to cry in front of Lily, maybe just enjoying the power of ruining something beautiful. I folded the papers back into the envelope. Then I asked a question that made Mason blink for the first time. Did your lawyer tell you to present this at a child's birthday party? Savannah answered too quickly. We thought transparency was best. No, I said. You thought intimidation was best. Mason's face tightened. We're serious. I believe you, I said. That threw him because he expected resistance to sound louder than that. He shifted. You should also know we've been documenting things. Of course, they had. Such as? I asked. Savannah lifted her chin. Missed calls, last minute changes, the number of evenings Lily spends with Naomi, concerns about supervision. Naomi threw up both hands. Because I help raise my niece? You idiots are going to be laughed out of court, Mason cut in. And frankly, Lily has mentioned being confused and upset. That was the first line that hit a real nerve. My pulse kicked. My jaw tightened so hard it hurt. You will not use my daughter's emotions like legal bait. His expression stayed smooth. I'm listening to her. No, he was not. Mason never listened to feelings unless he could weaponize them. A child crying after a transition day would become evidence. A child missing one parent while with the other would become narrative. A child struggling after divorce would become opportunity. Then I heard Lily's voice behind us. Mommy? My whole body locked. I turned. She was standing near the patio now, in her pink dress, one braid slightly loose, a little bit of cotton candy near the corner of her mouth, and that expression children get when they do not understand the words but feel the danger. Her eyes moved from me to Mason to Savannah, then back to me. Why is everybody mad? My heart broke clean in that moment, not because of the papers, not because of the threat, because of that. A child in party shoes trying to read adult violence off faces that should have protected her. Savannah smiled and stepped forward. Nobody's mad, sweet girl. We're just talking. Lily did not go to her. She looked at me. I crouched and opened my arms. She came to me instantly. I smoothed her hair. Everything's okay, baby. She stayed close. Then she whispered, low but clear enough for us to hear. I don't want to go with them today. Silence. I I felt Mason react before I looked up. That was not how he thought this scene would go. He had expected her delight, her trust, her usefulness. Instead, at the first wrong shift in the air, she chose me. I kissed her forehead. You're not going anywhere today. Naomi swooped in like a rescue team in human form. Lily girl, there is a serious cupcake emergency near the table. Lily looked uncertain. Really? Critical. That earned the smallest laugh. She went with Naomi. The second she was gone, I stood. You're leaving. Mason folded his arms. We haven't finished. Yes, I said. We have. He lowered his voice. You should think carefully before refusing to cooperate. I stepped close enough that he could hear every word without me raising my tone. You should think carefully about walking into a child's birthday party with unfiled custody papers and pretending that makes you a stable parent. That landed. I saw it. He had expected emotion, not precision. Savannah tried one more time. You always twist things to make yourself look like the victim. I turned to her so fast, she actually stepped back. You moved into a marriage that wasn't even cold yet. Don't stand in my house and talk to me about victimhood. Her face flushed. Mason snapped. Enough. No, Naomi said behind me. Enough was the gate. Now parents were openly watching. No more pretending. No more polite blindness. Mason noticed the audience and rearranged himself immediately, putting on that calm, wounded man expression like it cost nothing. We came in peace, he said. We thought Claire deserved to know where things were heading. I almost admired how shameless he was. Almost, you didn't come in peace, I said. You came in costume. His eyes flashed. Real anger, this time, Finally, he leaned in. You should be worried. I leaned in too. You should have stayed home. And then from the driveway, I heard another car pull up. Not loudly, not dramatically, just tires on um, gravel. But the effect on Mason was instant. A flicker, a tiny shift in his face. Surprise. That was interesting. Very interesting. A moment later, footsteps sounded by the side gate. Firm, calm, familiar. Then a voice said, Claire. I turned and saw Daniel Brooks, my attorney, standing at the gate in a dark suit with a leather folder under his arm. He took one look at the envelope in my hand, one look at Mason's face, and one look at Savannah standing there like a decorative witness. Then he said, very evenly, Am I interrupting? Or did I arrive at exactly the right time? And the look on Mason's face told me everything. Whatever game he had come to play, he had not planned for this. For one long second, nobody spoke. Not me, not Mason, not Savannah, not even Naomi. And silence was not a place my sister liked to visit. Daniel Brooks closed the gate behind him and crossed the yard with the kind of steady walk that made weak people nervous. He was not flashy, he was not loud, he did not need to be. He was the kind of lawyer who could destroy a bad argument in a normal speaking voice and leave the other person realizing too late that they had helped him do it. He reached us and looked at the envelope in my hand. May I? I gave it to him. He opened it right there in the yard, scanned the top page, then looked up at Mason. You presented a draft custody petition at a minor child's birthday party? Savannah spoke too quickly. It's just information. Daniel did not even turn toward her. I wasn't asking you. Her face changed. Not much, but enough. Mason slid his hands into his pockets. We're simply informing Claire of our intentions. At a birthday party, Naomi said. Daniel kept his eyes on Mason. Did your counsel advise this method of communication? A pause? Tiny. Damning? I don't see why that matters, Mason said. Daniel nodded once, like a man whose suspicion had just been confirmed. That's what I thought. I felt something cold and useful settle in my chest. Either Mason's lawyer had not approved the stunt, or his lawyer had no idea it was happening. Both possibilities were good for me. Daniel closed the papers. From this point forward, if there's a custody issue, you communicate through counsel. Mason's expression hardened. This changes nothing. Actually, Daniel said, it changes quite a lot. How? Because if the child overheard any part of this, you may have just created an issue of your own. That one landed. I watched Mason's neck tighten. Savannah's posture shifted to, good. Maybe she was finally understanding that playing supportive wife in private was one thing, doing it in front of witnesses and lawyers was another. Mason tried another angle. You're overreacting. We're concerned about Lily's well-being. Daniel's face did not move. Then you should have communicated those concerns through the proper channel rather than staging a coercive confrontation in a social setting involving the child. Savannah cut in again. No one coerced anyone. Daniel turned to her now, and his voice got even calmer, which somehow made it more dangerous. Transparency is lawyer to lawyer. This is theater. Naomi made a small sound of satisfaction. I did not say anything. I was watching Mason because the more control he lost, the more the real Mason started to leak through the polished version. He leaned back slightly. Fine, let's stop pretending this is only about paperwork. I looked at him. No, let's stop pretending this is about Lily. His eyes sharpened. You know exactly why we're concerned. No, I said. I know exactly how you work. Savannah jumped in. Lily is struggling, Claire. There it was again, that word. Adults love that word when they want a child's pain to become their argument. I faced her fully. She is adjusting after divorce, the divorce her father caused. That's unfair, Savannah snapped. Good. There you are, I thought. Mask off. No, I said. What's unfair is acting like a 7 year old's normal confusion is a legal opening. Mason took a fast step forward. Watch it. Daniel shifted immediately, not aggressively, just enough to stand more clearly between us. That tiny move changed the energy of the whole yard. Mason noticed, and he hated it. Daniel spoke quietly. Lower the temperature. Mason gave a humorless laugh. Or what? Daniel looked at him the way a doctor looks at a person doing something stupid with fire. Or you continue making choices that will age badly in court. That was the first moment Mason looked genuinely angry rather than theatrically offended. He turned back to me. Tell him about the school email. I blinked. What? There it is, he said. That look, like you forgot. Then I remembered 3 weeks earlier, I had submitted one school planning form the next morning instead of the same night. No consequence, no missed event, no crisis, just a working mother juggling too much at once. Mason gave a little shrug. Lily almost lost her field trip slot because Claire missed a deadline. That's a lie. Is it? Naomi cut in. This is pathetic. But Mason was gathering momentum now, building his little pile of half-truths. The dentist appointment got rescheduled twice because the office changed it once, I said, and Lily got sick after being with you the second time. Savannah said softly, there are always explanations. No, there was context. And men like Mason knew context was the enemy of manipulation. Daniel looked bored now, which was a terrible sign for Mason. If your case theory is that routine scheduling friction between divorced parents equals unfitness, I suggest you rethink your threshold. Mason's face darkened. You don't know the half of it. Then he said it in a voice that made my neck go cold. There's more. Something in that tone reached into old places inside me. Not because I believed him, because I remembered him. That was the tone of a man who thought he had found a blade. Daniel heard it too, such as, but Mason was not looking at him. He was looking at me. You didn't tell him? My heartbeat changed. Slow, heavy. What was he talking about? Bills? No. School? No. Medical records? No. Nothing major was wrong. Nothing. Savannah folded her arms, suddenly looking too sure of herself. Mason reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, then held it up toward me. At first, it looked like nothing. A grainy night image, a doorway. Then my stomach dropped, my front porch, my house, and there I was in the image opening the front door at nearly 10:30 at night. I remembered the night instantly. Naomi had dropped us off after a late family dinner. Lily had fallen asleep in the car. Naomi helped carry her inside. A completely normal night. Then I saw the angle, not from the street, closer, higher, wrong. Mason watched my face the way hunters watch movement in tall grass. There it is, he said softly. Savannah added in that fake concerned voice. Lily seems to be out very late on school nights sometimes. Naomi exploded. You sick little stalkers. Daniel moved fast. He took the phone from Mason before I could even react. Mason tensed. That's my property. Daniel ignored him and studied the image. 1 second, two. Then he looked up. Where exactly did you get this? It's a public street. Daniel did not hand the phone back. No, it's not. The yard went still again. He held the screen up slightly. This angle is elevated and partly blocked from the left. This wasn't taken from the street. It was taken from an adjoining property or above. He turned to me. Who has a clear view of your porch from that side? My mind raced, then landed. Mrs. Hensley, the widow next door. Quiet, pleasant, not close. And suddenly another memory flashed, Mason lingering at a pickup weeks earlier, glancing toward her property while pretending to make small talk. Naomi said it before I could. The neighbor. Daniel turned back to Mason. You involved a third party in surveillance relating to a minor child? Savannah stepped in too fast. No one was surveilling anyone. We were gathering observations. Daniel looked at her sharply. That is one of the worst possible ways you could have phrased that. Now she looked rattled. Good. Mason finally cracked a little. You're twisting everything. No, Daniel said. I'm defining it. I looked at Mason and something inside me changed. This was no longer ugly co-parenting. This was obsession. He had watched my house, watched my daughter, collected moments, maybe many moments, maybe more. My voice came out low and flat. You watched my house. He answered too fast. I protected my daughter. No, I said. You hunted for angles. For the first time all afternoon, Savannah looked uneasy in a way that seemed directed at him, not me. Daniel slid the phone into his own pocket. I'll be preserving this. Mason's face drained slightly. That's my phone. And you can request it properly, Daniel said. After I document the image you just chose to present in this interaction. Naomi exhaled softly. He's cooked. He should have stopped then. Any sane person would have. But men, like Mason, become most dangerous when they realize the room is no longer theirs. He took one slow breath, looked past us toward the watching parents, and then said loudly enough for half the yard to hear, maybe they should know why Lily told us she doesn't feel safe sleeping in your house. The air left my body, because there it was, not a claim, not a fact. A grenade vague enough to spread, ugly enough to stick, and he had just thrown it into a child's birthday party. For one full second, I could not move. My stomach dropped. My face went hot, then cold. My hands started shaking so hard I had to lock them against my own arms. Not because I believed him, because I understood exactly what he was doing. He was planting suspicion. He did not need details. He did not need proof. He only needed adults nearby to hear a sentence dark enough to rot the air. Naomi's voice came out, sharp as broken glass. What did you just say? Mason gave that little poisonous shrug he used when he wanted to imply something filthy without fully owning it. She said what she said. Daniel stepped forward. No, clarify it. Mason looked irritated. You're all overreacting. Clarify it, Daniel repeated. I stepped closer too. What exactly did Lily say? Mason held my eyes. She said she gets scared at night. Silence. That was it? That was the poison? He kept going. She doesn't like sleeping alone there. Naomi almost shouted. She's 7. Exactly. 7-year-olds get scared at night. 7-year-olds get scared after divorce. 7-year-olds imagine noises and shadows and monsters and all kinds of things when the world under them has shifted. And he knew that. He knew it. He had taken an ordinary childhood fear and dressed it in just enough darkness to make strangers think something worse. I looked around and saw parents pretending not to stare while absolutely staring. Shame turned to fury so fast it made my teeth ache. Not because I had done anything wrong, because he was willing to stain me in public. if it helped him win. Daniel's voice stayed calm. So, to be clear, your accusation is that a 7-year-old expressed ordinary nighttime fear after a family disruption, and you chose to phrase that as though there were a safety issue. That's not what I said, Mason snapped. It is exactly what you said, Daniel replied. You just hoped people would hear something uglier. Savannah tried to step in. We're genuinely worried about Lily's emotional. I cut her off. Then protect her emotional state by keeping your mouth shut at her birthday party. That landed. She had nothing for that because there was no polished answer to it. I took a breath and said clearly, for the adults listening, Lily has had occasional nighttime fears since the divorce. We discussed it with her pediatrician. We adjusted bedtime routines. She has a nightlight, music, support, and stability. There has never been any safety issue in my home. That was the truth. Every word. Months earlier, when Lily had woken crying a few nights in a row, I brought it up with her pediatrician during a routine visit. The answer had been normal. Divorce stress can show up at bedtime. Keep routines steady, reassure her, watch for patterns, give it time. Nothing sinister, nothing dangerous, nothing like the filth Mason had tried to suggest. Daniel nodded once. Good. Now, if you have an actual allegation, state it specifically. If not, you are done. Mason stayed silent. That silence told the whole story. He had no real accusation, only fog, only suggestion. Then a voice came from the side. Excuse me? We turned. It was Melissa, one of the moms from Lily's class. She was holding a tray of juice boxes she had clearly forgotten about. She looked uncomfortable but steady. And thank God for that kind of woman. She looked at me first, then at Mason. I'm sorry, but I think some of us heard enough. Mason's face changed instantly. He did not like audiences that developed opinions without his permission. Melissa set the tray down. Claire has been one of the most consistent parents in that class all year. Pickup, volunteer day, reading fundraiser, birthday RSVPs, school messages, field trip forms, all of it. Tom, Ava's father, stepped closer too. She's right. Mason gave a little dismissive smile. I don't think neighborhood opinions are relevant. Tom shrugged. Then you shouldn't have turned this into a public show. That one hurt him. I saw it. Priya, another parent, spoke from the patio. A child saying she's scared at night after divorce doesn't mean the home is unsafe. It means the child is having a hard time. Savannah opened her mouth, but Priya kept going. I know, because I was that child. Now the shift in the yard was complete. Parents were no longer passive. They were judging. And for the first time that day, Mason was standing in the middle of a room that did not believe him. Daniel pointed toward the gate. Leave. Mason tried one more time to smooth the story. Claire, I didn't want it to go like this. No, I said. You wanted it to go exactly like this. You just thought I'd be the one who looked bad. That hit him harder than yelling would have. He turned sharply toward the gate. Savannah grabbed the cupcake box and hurried after him. They had almost made it out when a small voice cracked across the yard. Daddy? Every adult froze. Lily. She was standing near the bounce house holding a balloon animal, her face pale and confused. At some point, she had wandered close enough to feel the shift again. Maybe she had seen him leaving. Maybe she had heard more than we thought. Her eyes moved from him to me. Then she asked in a trembling little voice, Why are you mad at mommy? The whole yard held its breath. There it was. The truth from the only person who mattered. Not what's happening. Not why are you talking loud. Why are you mad at mommy? Because children do not listen to words first. They listen to direction. And all day long, Mason's anger had pointed at me. He crouched a little. I'm not mad, Peanut. But Lily did not move toward him. She stayed where she was and whispered, Yes, you are. He froze. Then she said the sentence that changed everything. You always look like that when you're mad at her. Oh God. It felt like somebody reached back through all the years I tried to protect her and ripped a curtain open. Naomi put a hand over her mouth. My chest cracked wide, not neatly, not quietly, wide, because that sentence did not belong only to that day. That sentence belonged to memory, pattern, recognition. My daughter knew that face. She had seen it before, enough times to name it. Mason stood up too fast. Lily, she flinched. Tiny, but real. I moved before thought, crossed the distance, and pulled her gently behind my side. Mine. Daniel saw the flinch. So did Naomi. So did every adult with eyes. Savannah looked horrified now, not by what Lily felt, but by what everyone had just seen. Mason forced his face soft again. Sweetheart, that's not what. Lily buried her face against my hip. And that was the end of it. No speech, no envelope, no performance. A child had chosen safety with her body. Daniel's voice came out like velvet over steel. You need to leave immediately. This time, Mason did not argue because he knew. He looked at me once, humiliated, furious, exposed, then turned and walked out through the gate. Savannah followed. A second later, car doors slammed. Then the engine started. Then they were gone. I bent and picked Lily up. She clung to me with her whole body. It's okay, I whispered into her hair. I've got you. Her arms tightened around my neck. The other parents moved with a kind of quiet grace I will never forget. Melissa steered children toward the cake table. Priya turned the music louder. Tom announced cupcakes like a man trying to restart the world. Good people, real people. They were trying to give Lily her birthday back. Then I noticed Daniel looking toward the driveway with a sharp, strange expression. I turned slightly. What is it? He lowered his voice. Claire, before I answer that, I need to know something. My stomach tightened. What? He glanced at Lily, then back at me. Has Mason ever been inside your house since the divorce was finalized? The question hit like ice because it was too specific, too exact. And the moment he asked it, I knew whatever he had noticed was worse than I thought. Daniel's question sat in my chest like a blade. I adjusted Lily on my hip and answered carefully. No. He held my eyes. Not once? No. Naomi stepped closer. Why are you asking that? Daniel lowered his voice further. Because when he turned to leave, I saw a key on his key ring. A line of cold slid down my spine. What kind of key? He did not hesitate. A house key, silver, plain, blue cap. My mouth went dry because I knew exactly what key he meant. When I moved into that rental, I had 3 front door copies. One on my ring, one in the kitchen junk drawer, one hanging on the small brass hook just inside the front hall closet, the one with the faded navy rubber cap, so I could tell it apart quickly. Or at least I thought it was still there. Naomi looked at me and saw the answer on my face before I spoke. Oh no. I set Lily down gently. Go with Auntie Naomi for 1 minute, baby. She hesitated. Can I come? Not this time. She hugged my waist quickly before going with Naomi, and that small cling broke something inside me all over again. The second they were clear, I led Daniel inside. Front hall, brass hook, empty. I stared at it, then went straight to the kitchen and yanked open the junk drawer. Tape, pens, batteries, receipts, candles, menus, no spare key. I dug through everything anyway. Nothing. By then, Naomi was back. She saw the empty hook, then the open drawer, her face drained. That key was there. I know. The Navy one. I know. Daniel asked, when did either of you last see it? Naomi answered first. Last month, I used the closet broom after Lily spilled glitter glue. Last month, not before the divorce, not 6 months ago. Last month, my mind jumped backwards violently 2 Saturdays ago. Mason waiting in the entry while I ran upstairs for Lily's sweater. A rainy pickup where he stepped farther inside than usual. The soccer drop off when I carried Lily in because she was crying and he stood near the front wall for half a minute alone. At the time, those moments were nothing. Now they open like trapdoors. Naomi read my face. He copied it. Daniel nodded once. That is my working assumption. I turned slowly and looked at the front door as if it had personally betrayed me. All those nights, I had locked it, checked it, trusted it, and maybe all along he had a copy. Do you think he came inside? Daniel answered exactly the way a good lawyer does. When the truth is ugly, I think you need to proceed as though he could have. That was worse than yes, because yes is one event, could have is a whole hallway of uncertainty. Suddenly, little memories started lighting up. A window I found unlocked one morning and blamed on myself. A file folder slightly out of place in my office nook. Lily's tablet charger showing up in a weird room. The weird feeling once or twice that something in the house had shifted half an inch. I had explained everything away because women living under pressure explain things away to survive. But now my own house felt less like home and more like a witness. Daniel sat at the table and gave instructions cleanly. Photograph the empty hook and drawer. Change every exterior lock today. Retain the old hardware. Check for sensitive documents. Assume he may have photographed or copied records. Do not confront him directly about this. We document first. Procedure. Thank God for procedure. It gave shape to panic. I took the photos, the empty hook, the drawer, the front lock. Then I thought of something worse. Lily. Both of them looked at me. If he had access. My voice caught. What if she noticed something at night? What if that's part of why she's been scared? Silence, because it made too much sense. Not certainty, but enough to matter. A child may not know what she heard, a door click, a floorboard, a presence. Only that night feels wrong. The birthday song started outside. I almost laughed at the cruelty of that sound. Children clapping while I sat in my kitchen realizing my ex husband may have copied my house key. Daniel wrote down the name of a locksmith. Call immediately after the party. I nodded. Then another memory hit me, Mrs. Hensley. Weeks earlier, she had smiled awkwardly by the mailbox and said, your ex seems very concerned about Lily. He asked if you were doing all right. At the time, I had been annoyed. Now I felt sick. He had been laying groundwork, not just spying, planting concern, creating a climate. I told Daniel everything. He listened and said, write that down exactly. Then he stood, you need to get back to Lily. He was right. No matter what else was happening, my daughter still deserved whatever was left of her birthday. We walked back outside. Lily saw me immediately and ran over. Mommy! I crouched and she wrapped herself around my neck, you came back. I kissed her hair, always. We blew out the candles together. She made a wish. Everyone cheered. And for one tiny bright second, the day stitched itself back together enough for her to laugh. The party wound down slowly after that. By late afternoon, the last guest left. The balloons sagged. The sugar crashed. Lily sat in the living room, surrounded by presents, while Naomi helped her sort through toys. I stood alone in the front hall, looking again at the empty hook. I took one more photo. Then I noticed something near the mail slot, a folded white note, half tucked inside, like it had slid through during the party and caught on the edge. I frowned and pulled it free. No name, no envelope, just one line written inside. Check Lily's pink backpack. He already did. My blood went cold. Naomi saw my face. What? I handed it to her. She read it, then read it again. What the hell does that mean? I looked toward the living room. Lily's glittery pink backpack was lying beside the sofa, and suddenly the whole house felt like a trap I had only just noticed was sprung. For one long second, I could not process the sentence. Check Lily's pink backpack. He already did. I read it again. Same words, same cold meaning. Naomi whispered, "Open it." I walked into the living room and kept my voice light. "Baby, can mommy borrow your backpack for a second?" Lily looked up from her presents. "Why?" "I want to make sure all your birthday things are together." She shrugged and pushed it toward me. I carried it to the kitchen. Naomi shut the door behind us. The backpack looked painfully normal. Pink glitter fabric, unicorn patch, one side pocket stretched out from her water bottle. I unzipped it and emptied everything slowly. Coloring book, broken crayons, hair ties, snack wrapper, little plush bunny, nothing. Then I checked the front zipper pouch. There was a white envelope tucked flat against the lining. My fingers went numb. I pulled it out. Inside was a photograph and a folded typed note. I looked at the photo first and my body went cold. It was Lily asleep in her bed, my daughter in her room. At night, pink blanket up to her chest, nightlight glowing beside the wall, her little hand tucked under her cheek. The photo had been taken from her doorway inside my house. For one second, the kitchen blurred. This time, it was not just shock, it was violation. So complete and sickening that I had to grip the edge of the counter to stay upright. My skin crawled, my chest tightened, every instinct in my body turned feral at once. Naomi gripped the counter. No. I unfolded the note, three typed lines, no greeting, no name, just this. He's been inside more than once. Check your bedroom closet shelf. Don't tell him you know yet. Naomi read it over my shoulder and whispered, "I'm going to kill him." No. My voice came out hard enough to stop her because something had changed completely. This was no longer co parenting war, no longer a custody threat, no longer ugly divorce tactics. A man had entered my home and taken a photograph of my sleeping child. Done. Finished. We were beyond private handling. I called Daniel. He answered immediately. When I told him what we found, his voice changed. "Do not touch the photo again. Photograph everything as found. Bag each item separately. Then call the police." That answer hit like metal because until that exact second, some damaged part of me was still trying to behave like a divorced woman managing a difficult ex. But this was criminal. I called, and For the first time all day, I said Mason's name into a legal conversation with zero hesitation. The police arrived while Daniel drove back. Before they got there, Naomi and I went upstairs to my bedroom because if there was more, I needed to know. My closet looked normal. That was the terrible thing. Violation does not always look messy. Sometimes it looks neat, sometimes it hides in plain sight. I climbed on the step stool and pushed aside a storage bin on the upper shelf. Behind it sat a black zippered pouch I had never seen before. I brought it down, opened it. Inside were photocopies, my lease, pages from a bank statement, Lily's school attendance record, a pediatric visit receipt, and on top of them all, the missing silver house key with the faded navy cap. I sat down hard on the bed. There it was, proof. He had taken the key, copied it, used it, gone through my things, curated pieces of my life like a thief building a case file. Daniel arrived, and the police came shortly after. I gave my statement at my own kitchen table while Lily colored in the living room, still wearing her party dress. That image will stay with me forever. My child humming over crayons while I explained to officers that her father may have been entering our house and photographing her in her sleep. I told them everything: the party ambush, the custody papers, the surveillance photo, the missing key, the anonymous warning note, the backpack envelope, the closet pouch, Mrs. Hensley's earlier comment, all of it. No minimizing, no softening, no protecting him with my language. The locksmith came before sunset and changed every exterior lock: front, back, side. I watched the old hardware come off and thought, good, let this house hear that sound. Let it know the door has changed sides. That night, Lily slept in my bed between me and Naomi with the hallway light on and her new pony toy pressed under her arm. Before she fell asleep, she touched my cheek and said, Daddy was mean today. I did not lie to her. I did not rush to make him seem complicated. I said gently, he made very bad choices today. She nodded, accepted that, and drifted off. Children are so brave, it breaks your heart. What happened after moved faster than Mason expected. Mrs. Hensley did not confess immediately. First, she denied knowing anything. Then, she said Mason had only asked questions. Then, once police interviews and lawyer letters started closing in, she broke. She admitted he had convinced her to let him observe from her upstairs guest room because he claimed he was worried about Lily. She said she got uneasy, then frightened, then ashamed. When she saw how far things had gone after the party, she finally told the truth. The photograph, the copied key, the hidden documents, the witnesses from the birthday, the public custody ambush. Together, they destroyed the version of himself Mason had tried to build. His custody move died before it could stand properly. His lawyer backed away. Then another one tried to reframe everything as a distressed father gathering information. That argument failed too. Judges do not love distressed fathers whose concern somehow includes breaking into homes, photographing sleeping children, and trying to smear mothers in front of birthday cupcakes. The stunt he staged to make me look unstable became one of the reasons the court stopped trusting him. That was the part that tasted like justice. Not just that he lost through the very mask he thought would save him. Supervised contact followed, then restrictions. Savannah disappeared quietly once affidavits and police interviews replaced fantasy. And Lily? Lily healed the way children heal when adults finally stop lying around them. Slowly, honestly, with routine, therapy, night lights, soft answers, safer rooms, and time, a lot of time. 3 months later, she fell asleep in her own bed with the door open and did not wake up crying. I stood in the hallway and cried without making a sound. Not from sadness, from release. Because surviving a man like Mason is not one dramatic victory. It is 100 small, reclaimed things. A lock changed, a room trusted again, a child sleeping peacefully, your own breath no longer bracing for footsteps. The next year, when Lily turned 8, we held her birthday in the same backyard. Pink again, because she still loved pink. The horse on the cake had golden hair and blue eyes, not scary ones. Naomi hung twice as many balloons as necessary. Melissa came early. Priya brought bubble wands. Tom handled the grill like a sacred assignment. And when Lily laughed, it sounded free, truly free. At one point, she wrapped her arms around my waist and shouted, "This is the best birthday ever." I looked at the gate, still just the gate, no longer an opening for fear. Then I looked at my daughter, my beautiful girl, still here, still mine, still safe. And I understood something simple. Mason came to that first birthday party thinking custody was something you could take like revenge, like a trophy, like punishment. He thought motherhood was a position he could weaken if he embarrassed me hard enough. But he was wrong. What he exposed that day was not my instability, it was his own rot. And once that rot hit daylight, it could not pretend to be concerned anymore. I bent and kissed the top of Lily's head. She looked up at me and smiled. "What?" "Nothing," I said softly. "I'm just happy." And for the first time in a very long time, that was fully true.